You're listening to Lifted You Weight Loss with Annie Jensen, Season 2, Episode 6. It's not self-sabotage. Hello, darling. I'm Annie, and I'm here to connect with you. I know we understand each other. We show up, we live hard, and you and I do all of it, carrying the same burden. But here is the most beautiful truth that I've learned over years of struggling with my weight. We do not have to live with this burden. So come with me because you are not alone in this. I'm ready to share everything. My story, my friendship, and every piece of value I've gathered along the way. My purpose is to lift you as you move forward on your own path to light, loving, and lasting weight loss and build something that finally works for you. Darling, there is a life waiting for you on the other side of this process. So let's ease this burden. Let's build what's already within you. Together we'll create a lighter, lifted you. October 14th, 2018. Each night, here I lie, warm, blessed, happy. Yet, day upon day, and now, year upon year, here I also lie. This is me. This is my struggle. This is my weakness. This doesn't need to be my truth yet again. Here I lie in the closing hours of the night, wrapped in the heavy present truth of it all. Tomorrow is another day. You never fail unless you quit. To achieve something you've never had, you must do something you've never done. I know. They know I can do it. He knows I can do it. I need to do it. Here I lie, my liver infused with adipose tissue and my blood sugar chronically elevated. Here I lie, the waffle and syrup I ate for dinner coursing through my bloodstream, while the urge I had to eat it sits satisfied in my lower brain. Tomorrow again. Tomorrow I will awaken 36.92 years old, with a lot of life still left to live. I don't want to lie to myself anymore. So here I lie in my safe, protective bed, wanting to be free. But I feel like I'm suffocating. Shame, guilt, insecurity, judgment, stress, dread, shadowed and buried. It's a little heartbreaking, isn't it? But don't worry, my friend, I am fine. That night, I remember it. I was not so fine. I was lying under my covers and I pulled out my notes app and I wrote that out. I was in a heavy place. I'd somewhat recently been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, but hadn't fixed anything. I was avoiding the doctor. I was avoiding certain activities of life. My weight and physical circumstances absolutely were having an effect on my life, my relationships, my kids, my husband. I could go on in detail, and maybe at some point I will. If you had asked me that night or any time during that time of my life, if I believed that I was self-sabotaging myself, I would have said, of course, absolutely, 100%. I do it all the time. That's all I'm doing right now with this area of my life. But today, looking back, I don't believe that's true. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is this idea of self-sabotage. I've told you about this season 2 transformation that we are going through on our personal weight loss path. Let me highlight that transformation process for you. I don't think I've done it all the way through yet. And I want you to hear it before we move into talking about self-sabotage. Before we continue in this transformation process, I want to kick self-sabotage out of our vocabulary, out of our thoughts, and out of our actions, or what we think are our actions of self-sabotage. All right, so here is the skeleton of the transformative process of season 2. We have talked all about that I know what to do. In some ways, I feel like we've talked about that our whole lives. Last week, we talked about decreasing sugar. We talked about taming that sugar beast. We opened that door last week. We are getting ready to progress from the I know what to do into the I am actually doing it, part of this transformation. We're starting that today. Once we recognize that I'm actually doing it, I am making choices and taking steps forward on my weight loss journey. We're going to come to I am actually doing it and I can keep moving. Once we've done it for a while, we can then recognize that I can count on myself. I can expect this from myself. I can see myself making these choices, behaving this way, and acting in alignment with the person I am underneath all of these habits and previous choices. I can count on myself. We'll then move into an awesome place where we can start to recognize that our behaviors of the past don't even feel like who we are anymore. We see that I am acting like her. I am doing what my future self wants to do. I am behaving the way and living the life that she lives. And finally, we get to a place where we truly finally feel that we are her. We have aligned ourselves with the true us that's on the inside, the lifted version of us that doesn't have to live with the heavy and has changed habits and made new lifestyle decisions and lives the way you were always meant to live and feels the way you were always meant to feel. And I am so happy to be speaking from that place today, instead of that place that I was in that night when I was lying in my bed writing those words that I just shared with you. So this transformation takes us from I am me today all the way through the process to I am her. I am my future self. And remember, we've made the beautiful, powerful distinction that you are not becoming a new person. You are always her. You're just living in alignment with how she lives. You're finally uncovering and lifting yourself out of all the yucky and finally living the life that you on the inside, your essence, has always been waiting to live. All right, so there is that transformative process that we're going to work through for the rest of this season. I know what to do. I'm actually doing it. I can keep moving, keep doing it. I know I can count on myself. This is becoming who I am. I am living as her, as my essence on the inside. And finally, I am her. I can feel that we have aligned and that I am living as I was always meant to. Let's get back to self-sabotage. We use that word all the time in life in general and in weight loss in particular. We say things like, why do I sabotage myself every time I start making progress? Why do I do great all day and then I just blow it at night? Things like that. In my case, back in October, I think it was, of 2018, I believed I was living in this constant loop of years of self-sabotage. You could hear it in my words, in my tone, in my almost hopeless narrative there. But today, I want to challenge that entire idea of self-sabotage, okay? Because it's a stinky word that trudges through our lives and it lugs all this heavy meaning behind itself. It's like stinky, slimy sludge. Remember when I likened our lives to a clear, flowing stream of water? And I told you that your doer is that water and it just wants to move forward and it goes around rocks and through pebbles. I feel like self-sabotage is like a mucky, dirty sludge that someone just dumped into that stream. Okay, so we're going to neutralize the idea of self-sabotage today. We're going to flush it out so that our water, our doer, can flow freely forward. That's what we want. So my thoughts on self-sabotage here are actually a lot more light and more hopeful and more simple than the idea that we are just unconsciously getting in our own way, somehow purposely, unpurposely preventing ourselves from being successful. One of the reasons I don't like the idea of self-sabotage is that it implies that we are outside our own influence. And you could hear that in my words in that little journal entry. I felt like I was powerless against myself. And it's so not true. We are not women who are just taking uncontrollable or subconscious action to sabotage ourselves and our weight loss goals. That's not what's happening. This is what I believe self-sabotage really is, okay? And I credit my sister Kimmy to a lot of this for helping me to understand this concept and see myself differently. So, quote, self-sabotage is not a bunch of self-inflicted, uncontrollable actions from ourselves against ourselves to stop us from making progress. This is what I believe self-sabotage really is. You've heard me talk about perception and lenses so much. I believe that self-sabotage is the perception that you are purposely behaving in a way that will cause you to fall short. Okay? It's the perception that you're getting in your own way on purpose. So what does that mean? It means that you are not getting in your own way on purpose. Are you stuck? Yes. Are you doing it on purpose against yourself in a way that you can't fix? Absolutely not. We are not outside our own influence. Remember, we are agents to act, not objects to be acted upon by situations or circumstances. Lying in that bed that night, typing out those words, all those sweet, tender feelings, I was not incapable. I was stuck, so stuck. I know that you can see that. When you listen and think about those words that I shared with you, can you see my sweet self lying in that bed, so frustrated and sad and hopeless? And do you just know that I could do it, even though I didn't know I could? Actions of self-sabotage are just foggy lenses. Mistakes, hiccups, however big or small they are not evidence that we can't control ourselves or our behavior. And when we see our choices as simple choices, no matter how long we've made them, and we realize that we can change them, we put ourselves in a position to clear our path forward and move ahead. And in regards to whatever acts of self-sabotage that you feel you are taking, when you recognize that they're just choices that you can change no matter what, you put yourself in a position to do 3 things. And these 3 things are what I want us to focus on this upcoming week. And we've been talking about this for months now. If we can think of something that we do that we feel is, quote, sabotaging ourselves, we instantly can, number 1, recognize a specific area where we're simply behaving in a way that's contrary to our goals. We're behaving in a way that is misaligned with who we really are on the inside. We're just making choices that are making it harder for us to live as our future self, as the version of us who lives without this burden. That is a beautiful, gigantic reframe right there. So if you can think of a way that you are self-sabotaging, you have just highlighted a place where you're just living in a little bit of contradiction of your goals. Maybe it's a lot of bit of contradiction to your goals, and that's fine too. But you got to take the heavy out of it. You got to take all the yucky meaning, all the sludge and slime and dirt out of it. That brings us to step 2. Once you've recognized a specific area where you're behaving in a way that's contrary to your goals, you want to normalize and neutralize the behavior that's frustrating to us. We normalize it, we neutralize it by taking out the yucky meaning. Here I am lying in my bed with glucose coasting through my bloodstream and adding to the adipose tissue that's in my liver. Here I am lying in my bed, lying to myself. Okay, I don't mean to make fun of myself, but you can see all the heavy in those words. I mean, I literally identified with it. I said, this is me. This is my struggle. This is my weakness. Well, normalizing it, neutralizing it would look like, all right, I made some choices tonight that don't align with who I want to be. And I've done that for too long, but it doesn't mean anything. The past has nothing to do with this present moment. Clear, fresh slate every moment of the day, moving forward. Now, I'm not saying that's always easy. Has it been easy for me to shed the shame, the guilt, the insecurity, the judgment, the stress, the dread? Has it been easy for me to feel unshadowed and unburied? No, but it's been easier than I believed it would be, and I did it one step at a time. And I'm going to read one other little part that was lower in that journal entry of that same night, okay? And you can see how when I switch my focus from internal, from heavy, from shame, from yuck, from self-sabotage, when I shift my focus outward to what I'm going to read to you right here, you'll see me start to move forward, okay? It's there. My light is there. My ability is there. My focus outward is there. It's just clouded by a lot of frustration, heavy. And I was tired. Oh, I was so tired. Emotionally so tired from being so unhealthy and just feeling, I hate to say the word hopeless. I didn't get there very often, but I did feel that sometimes. Hopeless is a sad, empty feeling. All right. So later, after I got through some of that yucky that I shared with you, I wrote this. Now, look at my perspective shift. Look at my tone lighten and recognize the hope in my words here, okay? I played basketball today with my kids, husband, and some kids of our good friends. I noticed that my instinct was to sit on the side, but there were no other adults around, so I felt comfortable getting up and playing. It was so fun. Look, there it is. There's the shift forward. There's a clearer lens, a clearer self-perception, and some thoughts that are more aligned with who I am, who I was back then, just buried underneath the pounds and the blood sugar and the doctor's appointments and all of that stress. That brings us to step 3, okay? Once you have thought about some things that you think are self-sabotaging, you have put yourself in a position to 1, recognize a specific area where you're just behaving in a way that's contrary to what you're trying to achieve. Number 2, you normalize and you neutralize the behavior that is frustrating. All right. It's frustrating, but it's also not impossible to change by any means. Not impossible for you to change and do differently. You'll figure it out. You'll figure out an appealing and a possible plan, many little appealing and possible plans, and you'll move forward. So you recognize it, normalize and neutralize it. And here you're ready for step 3. And that's the moving forward part. You're ready to make some changes and build strength in that area of your life. You've got some strength training to do right there, some practice. That area of life is not easy for you. Your doer in that area of your life is not as developed. She's not as strong. It's not natural for her. She's working on it. Remember, your weight loss doer just has some work to do. She's not incapable. She's not sabotaging herself. She just needs some practice in certain areas, and you can do that. When you neutralize, you normalize your struggles, you get the heavy out of them, then they're in a position where you can just flick them off your path. It is so much easier to think of an area that's hard for you as a place where you just need practice instead of, I've never been able to do this, or I'm an emotional eater, or I always quit. Okay? So instead of telling ourselves current stories based on past experiences, and even assuming these false identities by saying things like I did, like this is my struggle, this is me, we look forward, we tell ourselves we can live differently, we build strength, and we make those changes step by step. That's how we're going to reach our goals. So thinking back to that sweet 36, what did I say? So dramatic. 36.92 years old. She wasn't broken. She wasn't addicted to self-sabotage. She wasn't destined to live in this overweight, unhealthy body. She was looking at herself through a lens so foggy that every choice she made simply confirmed the story that she already believed about herself. Can you see that in my journal? I already believed that I was trapped. So I let every choice become evidence that that was true. Now, can you flip that mirror to yourself? Can you recognize yourself operating because of a perception that you have of yourself? Can you see yourself making choices because of a perception that you have of yourself? I don't believe the problem is that you're self-sabotaging and that you're outside your own influence. I think the problem is your lens, that you've been looking at yourself a certain way for so long that you have a hard time imagining behaving any differently. But the beautiful thing about a foggy, false perception is that it is not true. Perceptions change. Lenses can be cleared. And you can start clearing that lens right now. All right? A good, honest thought, a truthful thought about yourself, you know is true, that is different than what you maybe do in habit. Remember, you are the captain. You are the boss. You are the agent to act, not an object to be acted upon by your, quote, self-sabotaging behavior. You take the reins. It took her a little while, but that Annie, that 36-year-old Annie, did it. And if I had known then more of what I know now, it wouldn't have taken me so long. But it doesn't matter. The bulk of it is done. I'm down another 1.5 pounds this week, and I am just well on my way and loving it so much. So what behavior can you think of that you feel you always do? You get in your own way. What behavior can you recognize? Can you normalize? Can you take the meaning out of? And then you can shift to make a little bit different choice. That's my encouragement and my goal for you this week. Take the term self-sabotage out of your vocabulary. Instead, you say, yeah, there are some choices that I make. There are some habits that I have that are not aligned with who I want to be, not aligned with my goals. But I can change that. I can work on that. That is so much lighter, brighter, hopeful lifting than, well, I just get in my own way. I just screw everything up. Remember, you are not outside your own influence. Time for some final thoughts. I want to read something else I wrote that very night. And again, you will see when my perception turns around and focuses outward instead of inward and heavy, the lights come on and I start to move out of my stuckness and move forward. That night, October 14th, 2018, I also wrote this to you, my darling. I also lie here feeling an empathetic love, a love for you women who know this weight, who live with this heavy casing around your heart, who love, lead, work, and play with this burden in your soul, who've given shame a residence in your thoughts, in your sense of self. I know you're out there. See, I hadn't started Lifted You yet, but I was thinking about you. I know you are out there, you women who live with a weakness that is obvious to the world, a world that can too often be merciless to women who struggle with being overweight. And how unkind this world can be to those women who, may I call, my friends. See, I love you. I have for a long time. I truly believe that when it comes to losing weight, when we struggle, where we struggle, we're just living out of alignment. That's it. We just need to shift, just need to change, and we'll get there. We will get there, one step at a time. I'll see you next week, my sweet friend. Take care.